story for you all. First off, I did want to say thank you so much for your support on my last video. If you enjoy this content, it would really help me out if you either like or comment on this video. And if you're not subscribed, if you would like to do that, that seriously does wonders. I get a couple thousand more views on my video when you all interact with them. So that really truly does help me make more content for you guys. So thank you for all the love thus far. Also, I posted this on my community page, but my husband and I finally have a storefront just on Etsy where we are selling our homemade tables from the tree that fell in our backyard. So I will link that down below in the description box. And thank you guys so much for everything. Let's dive right into today's spooky true crime case. When I first heard about this story years ago, I thought it was fake and was not a real story. But it is true. You can definitely research it, and there are a lot of news articles about this. So today we are talking about the Watcher letters. In the year 2014, Maria and Derek Braddus bought a beautiful house in Westfield, New Jersey. Westfield is about 45 minutes west of New York City, and Westfield is actually where Maria had grown up, and her parents still lived in Westfield at this time. Westfield is known for its beautiful, large, tree-lined streets and just an old, quaint town feel to it. I am very jealous because I can only imagine how beautiful their fall would be right now. I live in Nashville, Tennessee, and the falls here maybe last a week, if that, and it's not very nice. So, very jealous of those who live in Westfield. So, the Bradduses bought this home, and they had 3 children. Now, they have tried to keep their 3 children out of the spotlight extremely surprised when he found a handwritten letter while looking through the mail. The letter had large, awkward writing on it, and on the front it was addressed to the new owner. At first, Derek thought, well, this must be some form of a welcoming letter, although Derek recalled meeting most of their neighbors already by this point in time. So Derek opened the letter, and this is what it said. This is where it gets really creepy. It said, "Dearest new neighbor at 657 Boulevard, allow me to welcome you to the neighborhood. How did you end up here? Did 657 Boulevard call to you with its force within? 657 Boulevard has been the subject of my family for decades now, and as it approaches its 110th birthday, I have been put in charge of watching and waiting for its second coming. My grandfather watched the house in the 1920s, and my father watched the house in the 1960s. It is now my time. Do you know the history of the house? Do you know what lies within the walls of 657 Boulevard? Why are you here? I will find out. I see already that you have flooded 657 Boulevard with contractors so that you can destroy the house as it receive